am now ready to take questions from the floor. Any of you who wish to fire questions at me, I'm ready for it. Right now, I have my advisor standing by and our mimeograph corners. Oh, yeah. It's life is that way. Hey, we'd like to salute Straws in the Wind Department. Straws in the Wind Department, which we have not been keeping up too well lately. Oh, you want the micro? Oh, I see. We're using this different thing here. Hello, 1, 2. That's better. Yeah, that's right. This microphone reminds me of the kind they used to sell. You could get them in the back pages of Popular Mechanics. You ever see them, Joe? It says, "Amaze and mystify your friends." Your voice actually comes out of your very own radio, and you get this microphone that says $1.98. And it has a cord that you attach in the back. I'll never forget my old man buying one of those. It says, "Amaze and mystify your friends." It had a picture in the ad. And it shows the radio saying, "Hello, this is Joe. I'm on the radio, folks." And it shows all his friends being amazed and mystified. And then you could see in the background Joe hiding behind a curtain, see, with the microphone. Well, my old man got one of those. And this was one of the great traumatic moments in our family's life. How many of you out there, I'm asking a rhetorical question that you're not expected to answer except in your own soul, have had electricity problems in your life? Now, some people have it more than others. There are certain people who just never have this problem. In other words, how many of you have had some really hair-curling shocks? Shocks. Electrical shocks. A lot of people have never had this. But those of us who've had goodies, really goodies, we don't forget it quick. I'll tell you. In fact, my old man, he said for one of these things, it says, "Amaze and mystify your friends." It says, your own voice coming through your own radio set, complete with script. They send you a little thing like little commercials you can do and jokes you can tell through the radio. He says, your friends will be amazed and mystified, and when you invite them over, they'll hear you coming out of the radio. So this really got the old man. He was basically, like most types out in that area, had a secret desire to be in showbiz. So he sent away to Buck 98, and back came the microphone. It was a little round microphone. It really actually looked like a bike. It had a little microphone, had a little, the kind that had the sort of flat, it had little round holes all around on it, and it was bronze-colored. He said, "Geez, that's great. It's a real microphone." And it came with 50 feet of cord, see, so you could hide in the closet. You could stick the cord under the rug, up around the back of the radio and hide the closet, and it had a button on the back. And you were supposed to press the button when you wanted to talk over your radio. It would cut out the regular program, and on would come your voice, rich and full, and according to the ad, realistic sounding. It would sound exactly as though you were on the radio. And it had a diagram with it. Now get this, Joe, you're an electrician type. The diagram said, here is how you hook it up. You didn't just plug it in. There's no place to plug in a mic on a radio, right? So it said, it showed a diagram. It had the tube you're supposed to take out. Actually, what you were supposed to pull out, the first audio tube, right? And it had a diagram that showed grid, plate, screen grid, a picture diagram with the bottom of the tube. This is a glass-type tube or a metal-type tube, the tube with the plugs. And this microphone was supposed to hook on the bottom of the tube. What you did, instead of just taking out the radio set, and wiring it in the way you should have, really, it had a little tiny ring-type, almost like a little soldering lug, which fit right over the pin of the tube. You got it, see? Now, it said plate grid, and in red letters it says, do not confuse the two. It says, viewed from the top, you must connect it to the grid, right? Grid, and you connect the other lead from the microphone to the ground. As you know, on most tubes, the cathode is grounded, right? So it says, connect to the cathode. It says, do not mistake these two. So the old man, he gets down. He was a smart type. You couldn't tell my old man anything, And at that point, remember, I was beginning my my amateur radio career. I knew a little bit about this. You think he'd ask me? Nah. I said, but Dad, kid, come on, I can read the diagram. Get out of the way. I'll hook this thing up now. Don't worry about it. So he takes the tubes out, and he's putting this thing in. He runs the cord in the back, and he says, wait till your mother gets home. She's going to get the surprise of her life, right? So, sure enough, I hear my mother coming in the back door. The old man's got the radio tonight. Don't tell her where I am. He's hiding behind a curtain in the dining room. The radio is in the living room, right? He's got the microphone, see? He says, don't say anything there, wait. So, turn on the radio, turn it up. So I turn up the radio, you hear the radio's playing away. My mother comes walking in, saying she expected to see the old man home. The car's out there in the garage, she figured he's home. So she comes into the kitchen, she says, where's your dad? She says, I don't know, Ma, I don't know. He said, shh, don't tell. I said, I don't know, Ma. She said, why you got the radio on so loud? So I'm just down, I'm listening to it, Ma. Let's go down. And all of a sudden, the old man said, watch this now. I'm in the dining room. See, she's in the kitchen. She said, I can't stand it. I'm going to turn that radio down. So she runs through the dining room, going to the radio. And just at that point, the old man says, watch this. And he goes, zap. He presses the button. And just for one brief instant, he stood there. And then, boom. No, Joe. No music. No. Bam. Well, I just want to tell you, friends, the curtains came down. The old man got such a shock from the radio through the microphone that his glasses, he had these plastic rimmed glasses. Now, you know the brown kind that look like fake horn rimmed? Just about like what you got on, Yeah, he had these glasses. Well, he got such a shock that his glasses literally just twisted right off his head. It just went whap. Because he had it up to his nose, you see, the microphone. He was going to talk because the instructions said, hold the microphone close to your face. Obviously, this mic had no sensitivity whatsoever. And you had to hold it right up and holler, and it would say. So he had it right up by the nose. When he pressed the button, the lightning bolt went from the microphone, bopped him on the nose. His glasses flew off, and by the way, the center part of his glasses were burnt. He got such a shock. He come flying out. Of course, it didn't do anything to radio except it blew out the entire power transformer, all the filters. Forget the radio. The radio went up in a smoke, a pile of ruins. And he flew out from behind that curtain. The curtains came down. My mother walked out, and she looked at him. There he is sitting there with the smoking mic in his hand, and the cord all the way under the rug to the radio. You could see smoke coming out from under the car. She said, what did you do now? The old man was in such a state of shock that he didn't say what he ordinarily would have said. My old man had an answer for anything like that. He just sat there with his glasses smoking, with his hand clutched on a mic. And I thought to myself, my God, there he is. That was one of the moments in my life when the scales fell from my eyes, and I saw my old man for what he was. He was a complete smart. Well, the last word to that is 3 letters. The last 2 letters are S. The first one is an A. That's exactly what he was. A little music, please, Joan, to clear the atmosphere, please. I have to salute them smart you-know-whats, wherever they are. They're out there listening. Right now, there's a guy. I'll guarantee you, right now, there's a guy out there who just bought himself some kind of a cockamamie kit to build his own home-built electric organ. He's got his iron out, and he's about to blow the fuses for the next 14 counties around. Everywhere they are, they're out there. So let's sing a little song for them. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. That's the kind of microphone we're using here tonight, folks. If you wondered why all that started. That's why you got that hum and that hiss and everything else on it. Got one of these $1.98 mics. Came with Mr. O'Neill's Pentron tape recorder he got for Christmas. While we're on the subject of great equipment, had that electrical trauma. We've all had them. I mean, I had, when you're a kid and you're involved in amateur radio, you get more than your share. First of all, you're using very, very cheap equipment generally. You stuff you pick up in the junk shops all around the place, and it's usually worn, and generally you don't know enough about it right from starters, but you're starting out with big stuff. One day, down in the basement of our home, I'm down in the basement one day, and I had built this workbench. And above the workbench, I ran a cord. We had a basement light, that was on the ceiling down there, and I ran a cord from the basement light to. I had put a nail and an insulator. You know one of these nail insulators? I put an insulator above my bench with the wire coming down, and I was going to put a light over my workbench, right? And I was going to have my ham station, everything down there, see? Well, my mother, like most mothers, really was very, very nervous about electricity, and she still to this day is. One of the things she said more than anything else all throughout my growing up days was, "You're going to get a shock. Now watch out." How many times have you been told you're going to get a shock? Come on, Ma, I know what I'm doing. See? So I am standing up on the workbench on this fantastically disastrous day. I'm standing up on the workbench, see, and I'm wiring this wire. I got it up there. Everything's cool, see. I've got the wire through the nail insulator. I nail it down like that, see. So I ran the wire down. I wanted my light to be low over the bench, so it cast a low, good light, see. And I had bought this green shade, which I got at Woolworth, a glass green shade, that kind sort of looks like a kind of the bottom half of a funnel, green shade. And it was great looking light, see, and I was really proud of this. So I'm now connecting the actual light socket, the brass light socket with the switch on it. Now I climbed down off the bench. I'm standing now on the ground, which was concrete floor, right? It's a basement. I'm standing on the concrete floor of the basement. My mother is down at the other end of the basement. She just happened to be present at this debacle. She's down at the other end of the basement, and she is doing her washing. Now, we also had washing machine problems in our house. My mother had bought a washing machine, which she was totally devoted to. You know how some men get devoted to their cars? They believe, like some guys believe in Oldsmobiles, just like they believe in the Bible, or they believe in Pontiacs. Well, my mother had a washing machine. Any of you ever hear of a washing machine named Thor? Thor. She had a Thor washing machine. Thor. Well, I remember one day asking her, I said, I was a little kid, I said, "Mom, what does Thor mean? What does it mean?" Thor. She said, "What's the name of the washing machine?" I said, "Well, what does it mean?" She said, "Well, it's the name of the washing machine." I said, "Well, what does Thor mean, Mom?" She said, "Well, it means the washing machine." My mother, by the way, did not have an extensive education in Greek mythology. That's right. Speaking of mythology, this happens to be WOR New York, and we got plenty of them going around here. Myths, that is. Now, speaking of this business of electricity, you want to hear what happened, right? You want to hear the rest of this terrible story? Because I think a lot of people grow up all through their lives innocently miss some of the great things that are available around, some of the great experiences. Now, I'm not going to say getting a shock is an experience that you like. It's one you won't forget, though. I mean, it's a truly unforgettable experience. I'm in a good one. I'm in a really goodie. When you get a real banger, it's an experience. And you begin to appreciate such things as capital punishment. You think seriously about those things, the hot seat and all. But I climbed down off my workbench, right? I'm putting up my lamp, and my mother's down at the other end of the basement working on her Thor washing machine. And it said Thor on it. And by the way, in case you're interested in this machine, it said Thor, Thor, and the letters were sort of like leaning forward. It was a decal on the side of the machine. The letters were really groovy looking letters, see. And the T, the top part of the T, where the T crosses, was a lightning bolt. Zap! It was a big lightning bolt that went right through the rest of the HOR, Thor, bam, lightning bolt. Well, at that time, I I kept asking my mother, being a kid of age, you ask these kind of questions when you get older. Unfortunately, older people never ask any questions at all. So they'll have a car that says Electra on it, and they never ask themselves, well, what the hell is this Electra? Who was Electra? Now, probably some of you are driving Electras around, and you don't even know what Electra means. Who was Electra? There was an Electra, you know. Okay, you better, we'll leave you find that one out. It's like, owning the Cadillac Oedipus. It'd be kind of a great car. The Cadillac Narcissus, with two little eyes with umlauts over it. But nevertheless, the Cadillac, you don't know what the Electra means? You don't, huh? Well, you just think about it, Joe. There's a lot you've got to learn, I'll tell you. So, nevertheless, being a kid, see, I asked questions like that. I was kept after my mother. I kept saying, well, what is it Thor? What is a Thor? She kept saying, it's the name of the washing machine, stupid. Your name is what? I says, Gene. She says, what does it mean? Well, I can't say, gift of God. So, so she says, what does it mean? I said, well, it's my name. She says, that's the name of the washing machine, Thor. Well, for a while, this was enough of an answer, but kids don't give up that easy. At least I didn't. And they had a comic book out at that time that was about, did you ever see the comic book about Greek myths? Yeah, they had one called the Comic Classics or something was called. And I got this comic book. I was into the comic book scene there at the time. I was 8. And they had a fantastic episode in the comic book about Thor. Thor and Mercury. All those great guys, Thor, Mercury, Athena, and all that rest. Alexis. Oh, your name is Alexis? Oh, I see. You're all right, I'll buy that. But, there I am. See, I'm flailing around, and I'm reading this thing, and I said, hey, Ma, here's a story about the washing machine. She says, what? I said, Ma, here's a story about the washing machine. So she looks at the comic book, and here is Thor. I remember the first picture that Thor was up on some kind of clouds or something. You know how these gods, they don't walk around on 6th Avenue and that stuff. So he's in clouds or something like that. And Thor is apparently a god, see. Apparently now I know, definitely he was. But at that time, I was a little hazy on the subject. So Thor was hurling a thunderbolt. Yeah, he was throwing this thing, see, he's throwing this lightning. Well, it's fantastic. I said, Ma, I wonder if that has anything to do with our washing machine, Mom. And she says, no, our washing machine is Thor. It's a washing machine. I said, but it's got a lightning on the side of it. And she said, well, that's just when you really trap an adult like that, when they really are in an area where they don't know anything, they sort of say, well, that's all right. Yes, it's the name of the washing machine. You have to accept that. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, after this very intense, extremely educational and intellectual discussion of Greek mythology with my mother related to the washing machine, I'm mixing 2 stories up here, but I discovered what Thor was about. My mother's down in the basement one day working with that damn washing machine, and of course it's the basement, and she has it now on the drain. It's the draining, It was this kind of washing machine that was round, had a great big agitator in the middle of it, gong, gong, gong. When that washing machine would go, you could hear it for about 4 blocks. And when she got that washing machine going full blast, like if she had a couple of rag rugs and stuff in it, and it's really hitting it, really going like hell, you could feel the floor literally shaking. We're one of these, gung, 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 gung. She's pouring bluing in it, gung, gung, gung. You can smell the Rinso white. She always used Rinso. You could smell Rinso and the bluing, and gung, 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 gung. And it had one of these ringers, that thing you shift the gears and the ringers go around and all that stuff. And we had to just, kids pick up on these real bad jokes. And these jokes, incidentally, persist. I'm sure that every kid has heard the joke about grandmother catching a very crucial part of her anatomy in the ringer. You mean you've never heard about that? You have, Jerry, but Joe has not. You tell Joe. Now, I don't know what kind of a wonderful neighborhood he grew up in where they didn't talk like that. But, Well, yeah, no. This was a no. For heaven's sake, you were living in marginal living if you had washboards and. Good God. No, wait. No. That's, I don't know what kind of primitive life you lived as a kid, Joe. Were you living in a cave or what? I see. Your father had an ox cart? Uh-huh, yeah. I see. Get out of here. Well, anyway, one day we're down in the basement. See, my mother's working this machine. See? And I'm up in the kitchen right above, and I'm knocking together a sandwich or something. See, it's a hot day, and she's down, and you hear this machine, gunk, 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 and all of a sudden it goes, gunk, gunk, gunk. It stops. It goes, gunk, and you hear a lot of banging, and all of a sudden my mother says, hurry up! Somebody come down! Come on down! Hurry up! The machine is going. So I come running down the stairs. My kid brother's after me, and there's my mother down there, and she's pulling on this rug, right? And the rug is she's got a rag rug, and she's trying to get it out of the out of the machine, and it's all tangled up, and she can't get to the switch, and the machine it's all jammed up. See, it's going and suddenly, boom, boom, boom. You should have seen that. Blue smoke came out of the bottom of the machine, and there was a great roar of fire. And that motor, I'm telling you, went up in a gout of blue flame that it just lit up the whole basement. Somehow, I got the idea in my mind that this was a very well-named washer. I mean, Thor, the Thunderbolts, and the whole bit. And she, my mother stood there, see, and this thing is smoking, and all the stuff is flying out. I threw the switch off. See, the switch was right by the door, so I turned the switch off, which cut off the outlet down there. Yeah, and that was it. Well, she couldn't get around to the switch on the machine, so I cut it up by the door there. So we had a switch that controlled the outlet down there. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever it was, I had to turn that switch off. So I turn the switch off, and the smoke is coming out of the machine. And she's standing there with the rug, and the bluing, you could smell it all, and you know that smell of ozone you smell when you had a really good shock around the house? My mother's, she always suspected, apparently, this would happen. You see, my mother's type of lady always suspects the worst when dealing with electrical equipment. One day it's going to happen. One day my father's tie is going to get in the toaster, and blow up it's going to go, she's always suspecting that. Oh, yeah, we had a toaster one time, I'll tell you. We had a toaster one time, Joe. It was a fantastic moment. We had this toaster, which we were always getting these things on special discount deals. So, a cockamamie named toaster, some kind of a jiffy, a snappy toaster. So we go down to get the toaster. My old man's real proud of it, see, because he knew a place where Sherby knew a place where you could go. There was a garage where a guy sold stuff at less than wholesale prices. You shouldn't tell your neighbors that you got it, see. That kind of thing. Very secret, see. Yeah, shush, hush, see. So the old man buys this toaster. Well, he brings it back. He's all proud of it. Oh, wow, And there it was, it looked like it was made out of Reynolds wrap. It was all silver-colored toaster, see. And it actually looked like a toaster. It had a thing that said, how to adjust the darkness of your toast, light or dark and all that. So it worked for about 3 days. We'd never had a toaster in the house before, And my mother, we really loved this toaster. See, it worked for about 3 days. And on the 4th day, we're sitting at the kitchen table, and the old man is proudly working his toaster. He liked to push the thing down, it says, put the toast in. It had 4 slices. You put the slices in, and you push it down. He says, what do you say we have our toast today, medium brown? And it had a little dial on the side. It says medium brown, medium light. He loved to adjust it. He was a great guy for adjusting knobs and stuff. See, oh yeah, listen, had he lived, he would have been, he would have loved hi-fi. Oh God, he'd have had more stuff with green lights that light up, and spectrum expanders and all that stuff. So he says, how would you like your toast this morning? What do you say we have it, medium brown? Everyone all set for medium brown? Yeah, yeah. So turns it out to medium brown. He says, "Oh, now let's take the toast." And he would buy special, because, he was new toaster operator, say. He buys bread that was cut for a toaster. Have you seen that bread, that square bread? It's a toaster cut. So he puts it four in there, and he says, "All right, now, here we go." He says, this automatically ejects the toast when it's completed. And it makes that hum, goes when he pushes it down. And he picks up the paper and says, we'll have our toast in a few moments. How's the oatmeal coming? Oatmeal. Every time I think of oatmeal, I get this crinkly feeling up in the back of my neck. I hated oatmeal. I still hate oatmeal. So how's the oatmeal coming? My mother's fixing the oatmeal. How's the oatmeal? So he takes the paper and says, "Oh, well, I see. By God, the Sox won a ball game. What do you know?" "Why, that's the second game they won since May. Let's see, who did it? 17-12. Yeah, they pulled one out of the fire." All right, George, he's sitting there reading this thing. I'm sitting on the other side of the table. My kid brother's on, he's waiting. And all of a sudden, the toaster goes, "Bah!" Like that. It just went, "Bah!" You can hear the springs, and it goes, "Boing!" 4 pieces of toast in flames shot out of the top of this thing. They're burning. Smoke is flying. The old man says, "What? Hey, what's the matter here?" And he starts to jiggle this thing, and there was a spring in it. Somehow there was a spring, that was supposed to eject the toast. It was stuck. Have you ever seen toast get half stuck in there? It's burning like hell, see? And he says, quick, unplug it. Hey, come on, stupid, unplug it. My mother's got a big thing full of oatmeal, She doesn't know. She's got the oatmeal, and she turns around, and she drops the pan, the oatmeal all over the floor. What do you want? He's unplugged the toaster. Hurry up, stupid. And he's working the damn thing, trying to get it up. And she runs over, and she's just about at where the plug plugs into the wall there by the sink. She's just about to the plug when the toaster did it. He got it loose. The spring went, 4 flaming slices of toast flew out. 2 of them hit the ceiling. One of them slid into the dining room, and the old man is jumping around, kicking the toast that's burning on the floor there, and the toaster is burning up. I mean, you could see blue flames coming out. We get the thing unplugged, and it was one of the very rare times that I've seen my father work with absolute, total dispatch. Here was the toaster burning, smoke coming out of it. My mother has unplugged it. He just grabbed the toaster. It was hotter than hell. And he's, "Oh, it's hot." He grabbed the toaster, ran to the kitchen window, which was open. It was a very hot day, and just threw the damn toaster right out the window. And it just arched down. You hear it could crash down below, down in the driveway. We sat there. Now, there's several things that have to be brought out. One, this toaster was the anniversary present to my mother. Now it's out in the driveway, smoking. And we got burning toast all over the floor. We've got oatmeal over there under the stove. My mother's standing in her bathrobe, looking scared because the old man is really mad now. He's really mad. He says, "Damn that Sherby! How's that? What kind of a toaster is this?" And he runs into the next room, and he calls Sherby. That's the guy that took him down there, to buy it at this place where he had this friend who worked out of a warehouse, a garage warehouse where they sold stuff, and you shouldn't tell your friends where you got it because it was, very, very low price, and somehow you were getting a real deal. He calls Sherby. I remember the call. "Oh, Sherby!" And you hear this. He's, "Oh, it's my toaster." "Yours did what?" Apparently Sherby's toaster blew up and caught the curtains on fire. They had the police department and the fire department over there. that toaster was a cause celeb in our family for years. And every time my old man, he loved to think he was getting a deal. He loved, a deal where did I ever tell you about the time, I think I did tell you about the time the old man came home. He says, "Hey, listen, look," he said, "you should see the deal I'm getting." My mother immediately, she gets this sick look on her face. "All right, what is it?" He says, "Listen, there's a guy down at the office who knows a guy in South Chicago who has a connection with one of the tire companies, and he can get tires at 1/3 of the wholesale price." Now, these are tires that, I don't know how to get them, but they can get them. You heard about that one, didn't you? Did I ever tell that story, how the old man went down and got a set of white walls for the Oldsmobile? Went around to this garage someplace on the south side of Chicago, got the white walls, right? And 2 weeks later, we're sitting there eating supper, and there was a heavy knock on the door. The old man says, "Oh, there's someone at the door. Just one moment, please. Perhaps I have won the lottery." And, he was always entering contests. Someone at the door. I won the lottery. And he gets up and walks the door, opens it up, and there stands a 7-foot-high, 295-pound policeman in a blue suit with a great big badge. And he said, "Your name, Shepherd?" The old man says, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes, sir, officer." He says, "Do you own a car that uses 616 white wall tires?" It's a dead silence. My mother immediately sinks down behind the sink. "Why, yes, as a matter of fact, that's true." I said, "Well, may I see those tires, please?" "Well, they're out on the Oldsmobile, yeah, out in the garage. Yes, of course, officer. I'll be glad to show you my tires. I suppose you're running some kind of a survey here. You want to find out what kind of tires?" "No, sir, we're not running a survey. Show me those tires, please." And he had that sound in the voice, that any minute now the cuffs were going to come out. The old man is going to be up against the garage with his hands up, and they're going to be frisking him for his union card and the whole bit, So they go out in the garage, we're all peeking out. What the hell happened, see? And sure enough, the cop, he's writing stuff down, and I could see the old man waving his hands in the air, and he's explaining some of the cops writing down. And the cop comes back up on the porch, and I hear him say, "Of course, you realize that they'll have to be confiscated, and naturally, any loss that ensues will be naturally yours. I just thought you ought to know that, and you'll not be held for any sort of criminal trial." The old man said, "Oh, hey, yeah, of course." "George, these things happen, officer." "Well, I suppose they do." And the cop goes off and drives away in his squad car, and the old man comes back in and sits down at the table. Just sits down. He's white. I mean, he's white. He's as white as Ralston, as cream of wheat. Which, by the way, we used to celebrate Sunday by having cream of wheat for breakfast instead of oatmeal, So he sits down. He's white as a sheet. Doesn't say a word. Never says a word. I mean, this must have happened to many a Watergate defendant. He came home and his wife said, "What's the matter?" And my mother finally had to say it. She said, "What did he want?" "Oh, nothing." I said, he said, "We took care of it." She said, What happened?" "Well, there's some confusion about the tires. Not a little confusion. We straightened it out." She said, "But what do you mean confiscate? I heard him say he was going to confiscate. Does that mean take the tires away?" "Oh, yes, they'd like to keep them as an exhibit or something. I'll have to get another set of tires. I'll go down to Sears this afternoon." "Buy tires? We just bought new tires for the car. We can't afford another set of tires." See, my mother was the one who was in charge of the budget. The old man was in charge of yelling. So he says, "Look," he says, "we're going to get a new set of tires. Now, don't bother me. Now, stop it." He sat there and he getting madder. And my kid brother finally picked it up. My kid brother's sitting there, see, he's right in the middle of his, he's right in the FBI Peace and War stage. See, this guy, he was really into this crime stuff. The kid brother's always, reading. And he says, "Hey, Dad, were those tires stolen?" The old man turns and looks at him. He says, "Don't you ever say anybody, don't mention that to anyone in the neighborhood. Now, you keep that to yourself. I did not steal them tires." The kid says, "Were they stolen, Dad? Did somebody else steal them?" "Look, I didn't know anything about that. Now shut up, don't mention it again. You hear me?" "Yeah." That was covered up. This was one of the great, we're used to cover-ups now, right? This was one of the great cover-ups in our family. It was never mentioned in our family again. The white wall tires that the old man got on the south side of Chicago. Never mentioned. I will say this, though. It was very interesting to see the Oldsmobile up on blocks. And the old man taking the bus to work. That kind of caused a little talk around the neighborhood. The car was sitting up on blocks, and there were two guys came in a police van. It said police garage on the side, and took the tires off the car. Now, I know Mrs. Bruner was looking out from her curtains and saw that happen. And I'm sure that Mrs. Anderson saw it too, but nobody ever mentioned it. And it was never mentioned in our family. So if you ever get out in that neighborhood, don't bring it up. It was just our judge. Well, now, of course, the toaster was another, very much in the same department. But you see, since my mother had been given this toaster on her anniversary, she figured it was okay for her to bring it up once in a while, which she did at very crucial moments. So when the old man would get all excited, he said, "Hey, listen, oh, wow, you want to see the used Pontiac that they got down to Friendly France? You wouldn't believe it. It's only got 12 miles on it. I mean, there was this paralyzed Presbyterian minister that his congregation gave him this car as a gift. Now, he just died, and the car has not been used, 2 years old. It's got 12 miles on it. I mean, it's sitting right down there, brand new. They got the guarantee on it." Another toaster? He said, "Don't you forget that damn toaster! Why do you always bring up that toaster? Now, you know that Sherby told me I don't want to hear about that toaster." I won't mention it. I won't mention it again. Well, the night that they... every family has these little moments. I mean, I'm sure that if you were able to delve into every family's life, you would find that there are things which are not mentioned due to unbelievable embarrassing... Well, listen, I can bring it up. You want to talk about another one. It was another fantastic moment. My mother had one. Now, come on. I mean, there was a time that again, I was home. I was home with a cold. I was sick, from school. I was laying in bed there, and all of a sudden I hear all this talking out there, a lot of yelling and talking going on, and this guy's talking away there. And I get up and I go out into the next room, and I'm wearing my bathrobe, and here's some guy in the house, and he's running around, and he's in the kitchen, and he's cooking in our kitchen. Some guy, and he said, "And now, if you'll notice that this pan here, if it's set properly, it will pare apples, it will core pears, and this machine over here, now look at this one. You'll notice that this pan here is a perfect pan for cooking mussels, oysters, and various shellfish. Now, the mussels connect to this thing." And he's got all these pans all laid out in a big rack. He's got about 500 aluminum pans with little knobs and stuff, apple cookers, and he has given my mother a job like you wouldn't believe. And she said, "Oh, that's very nice. Well, I'll have to show that to Mrs. Bruner." "Why, yes, you bring Mrs. Bruner in, and well..." By that night, we owned $1,275 worth of aluminum pans used for cooking shellfish, which incidentally we never ever saw in that neighborhood. We never pared pears and never canned the bananas and whatever all that other stuff was for. And the night that my old man came home and found that he was the proud possessor of $1,200 worth of aluminum ware, I want to tell you, he hit the ceiling. Have you ever actually seen a man actually hit the ceiling? I mean, actually hit the ceiling. My mother had all these pans, see? And by this time, she realized what she'd done. It was about 2 hours after this Sharpie with the patent leather hair had left. He was really, he made a fantastic sales face, and his teeth are gleaming, and my mother's got the payment book. We were paying on that well until the late 1960s. So, oh yes, that was like the national Finland debt. So, the old man came in the kitchen that night, and by this time my mother's a little worried, and she's got all the pots and pans, and she's got them all laid out there, and the old man comes home and he says, "What the hell is all this?" And she said, "Well, we've been needing a new kitchenware," and he said, "What the hell is this? Look at this! All we needed was a frying pan. What is this?" She said, "Well, this nice man came, he comes from Mishawaka, and he came in, and these are guaranteed, they're lifetime guaranteed." He says, "How much? How much?" She said, "Well, now, don't get excited. Don't get excited." He said, "Well, how much? How much is this? How much is this?" Now, don't get excited. So you got to realize that you don't pay for this all at once. You pay for it by installments, and it's just a few dollars a month. It's only $9 a month. The old man looks around at the pots and pans. He says, "All right, how many months?" She said, "Well, here's the book." And here was the book, you see. Each page was for a month. The book was 3 inches thick. He says, "My God! How said, you pay for this? Well, actually, you shouldn't think of it that way. It's an investment, you know. He said, investment? Hell! Let me see this. He takes the book. He looks at that's $1,200! Oh! Well, it hit him so hard, it was like an electric shock went through him. I never in my life have seen a man actually leave his feet, fly up, and his head hit the ceiling. He actually hit the ceiling. Got a hell of a crack on the back of his head. Landed on his feet, and he was running. So, you know, it was a standoff. Whenever my mother would bring up the toaster, the old man would bring up the pots and pans. She would bring up the tires. Then he would bring up the time she blew up the washing machine because she tried to wash a 400-pound lug in it. And so it was a standoff. Large numbers of months would go by, and none of these things would be mentioned, but they would be lying below the surface. Because you could see the place on the table where the toaster burned it. And a big black place where the toaster burned it. Down in the basement, you could see that big scar on the wall where the Thor washing machine blew up. Out in the garage, you could see a set of new tires. Yes. You could see so everybody has the scars he has to live with. These are the things that Freud didn't know about. These traumas deep down within you. Thor hurling his thunderbolts.